How to fix a Starlink cable the right way. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of misty morning, and that is it. Hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is a tech day. We're going to be talking about some Starlink stuff today. A lot of you guys love the Starlink coverage, so I do more of it because you're looking for it, right? So I want to get into this. This is just one of those PSAs I have to put out there. I read a magazine called PC Magazine for many, many, many years, and they give advice and how-tos, and they're really good over there. And this video is not intended to kind of poo-poo on PC Magazine, but just the article that I read, I'm like, this is just not right. And they talked about how to fix a Starlink cable, and what they came up with was just the most jerry-rigged, crazy-ass nonsense I've ever seen. So, that being said, I'm going to show you the right way to fix a cable if you have a problem with your cable. Before I get into this, I want to say that if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks as of yet, go check them out. They are free just for you being here. Go to JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel as of yet, please consider doing so, and then click the little notification button over there and then click all. So this way, when I go live or when a new video comes out, you will be notified of it immediately. Also, if you're looking for a VPN, the nice folks over at PureVPN gave me a link. I'll share it with you down below. That link will give you about 80% off. So if you need security for your business or for your home, 250-bit military-grade encryption, or if you need a static IP address or port forwarding and all kinds of other niceties, maybe like watching a soccer game from another country that you're not currently located in and it's blacked out, but you can still watch it with the VPN. Just saying. If you're looking for anything like that, once again, 80% off. Look down below. There is a link. Use that and check out PureVPN. So let's jump right into this. I want to show you this article and kind of go through it a little bit so that you get an idea of what I'm talking about here. The article itself starts out at the top saying how to repair a damaged Starlink cable. And I was just intrigued. I'm like, okay, let's see what they do here. And as you can see, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. They talk about a step-by-step on how do you repair it. Now, remember, this is a repair on a Starlink cable that has the proprietary ends. Now, that is a Generation 2. What I'm going to tell you today will also help you fix a Generation 1, which is basically making a really good, solid Cat 5, Cat 6 burial, blah, blah, blah cable. All right, so we're going to get into both, but their main focus here is the proprietary cable that has been broken somehow and how to fix it. They start out with disconnect the cable from router, survey the damage to determine what the problem is, remove the damaged portion. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be snipping it. And you can see this damaged area here. It looks like a dog ate it or something. Then it says strip the cable back to remove the shielding, that layer on the outside. It's like a PVC type of layer. Then untwist the 4 twisted pairs. When you untwist them, you end up with 8 wires. Now they show you all 8 wires untwisted and this awful generic end. I would never recommend those ends, but whatever, that's what they use here. And then they say arrange the cables in a certain way. Now there's different ways to arrange the cables. There is T568A, there is T568B. To be honest, it is a whole bunch of nonsense unless you're going to be doing something for the military and or government, and they say you need to use 568A or 568B. I personally like using 568B. Now, I'll get into that in just a second also. It's just how the coloring of wiring is put into the end, that cable end. We'll get into that in just a moment. Anyways, then they show you that you have to put those wires into the ends in that specific color code. And once it's in there, you use this crimping tool to now crimp it together to create that end. Fantastic. And when you're done with all this, you end up with these 2 ends. So originally you had one wire that had dog bite marks all over it, and then you snipped out the dog bite marks, and then you put 2 ends, and now you have basically 2 wires that you're going to now somehow join together. Now they show you how they join them together using this Cat 6 coupler. All right. Now, once again, you have one end of a cable and you have another end of the cable, and you're putting both of them into the coupler to hopefully make a good connection. Now, there's two fraying wires that look like sticking out. Those are called drain wires or ground wires, and they need to be put together because it needs to be grounded, right? So as you can see, there's not enough length there. They were cut, and they ended up using this jumper cable to put the two ground wires together, and then used wire nuts to put that together too. So you end up with this absolute nasty, I don't even know, contraption of something that you just hope works. I personally like the dog bite cable better than the way this looks. That's my opinion. And then at the end, they tell you to put this whole contraption into a waterproof enclosure. I would recommend that too, because it just simply makes sense. That's all fine. Now, my method is a little bit different. Let me give you some food for thought. So this right here is one of those proprietary ends, right? This is what it looks like. This is a dongle, right? We've talked about dongles in the past. If you don't know about dongles, take a look at any of these videos. I did an entire playlist of Starlink videos. There's like 110, I think, in there. Helpful how-tos, tricks, tips, all that kind of stuff. Go check them out. Now, if you want to look at what that looks like inside, well, this is the exact same dongle, but taken apart, because that's the kind of stuff that I do for you guys. So I bought an extra one and took this thing apart. This is what it looks like, all right? So we know what we're dealing with. This cable right here is not cheap cable. They do have a grounding wire, because on the back here we can see GND, which stands for ground. So they do have a grounding cable in here, definitely. When looking in the cable, you can also see that it does have a foil sheath around it. So this is good cable. This isn't crap. I wouldn't call this burial grade cable. Just by looking at it, usually the burial grade cable has a really good backbone in the center of it. Matter of fact, let me show you some cable just so you can get an idea of the difference. So this cable right here is Cat 5E, just so you get an idea. It's kind of flimsy, nothing special. And when you look at it, let me cover up my eyes. You see that? This gauge is very light. Let's say 28 AWG, somewhere right on there, okay? Nothing fantastic. Now, the next level up will be Cat 6 cable, what a lot of people are used to seeing. That's kind of like this stuff. Heavier gauge, and as you can see there in the center, we see that there's a backbone. But even though there's a backbone, there's no foil. You see that? There's no foil. So this is still not as good as the cable that Starlink uses. If you are trying to make a cable for a Generation 1, use burial type style cable. All right. It is very important because it's just a better cable. Check this cable out just so you get an idea. This cable, instead of just having that simple backbone, as I call it, which is actually called a conductor separator, right? Instead of having just that, you see that it has the grounding cable, or as I call it, the drain wire. You also have that foil that goes all the way around it. And then the gauge of the cable here is 23 AWG instead of like 28 or 26. It's heavier gauge cable. You have your ripcord, and these wires are once again solid wires. So this is kind of what it's going to look like. But burial cable will be like this, but also will have a jelly inside that keeps the moisture out. So that's for doing Gen 1. We're doing Gen 2 here, and this is my method. Just so you get an idea, this is very, very simple. Now, instead of me reinventing the wheel, I'm going to pull up a demo video on how the manufacturer shows this unit being installed. And it is super simple. I'm going to walk you through it. So first of all, you're going to have to cut that segment out that is bad, just like they said to do. No problem. Then what you're going to do is use a rotary tool to trim back the wire. Something like this. You put your wire inside, you spin it around, and you pull off that sheath. My recommendation is pull off like about 3 inches. It doesn't matter because you're going to be cutting it off later anyways. Then what you're going to do is you're going to separate all those 8 wires, including the grounding wire or the drain wire. And now that's all you have to do is cut back that spine or the conductor separator, as well as the ripcord, and peel back that foil shielding. Make sure all of your wires are separated, and then take that ground wire or the drain wire and wrap it around the end of your wire over that PVC. After you secure the drain wire or the ground wire around the PVC to the end of that wire, you need to get your copper tape and tape that right around. That right there is going to make a connection to the box, and you're going to do the exact same thing with your other wire. Why? Because now you have a ground that's traveling through the entire box, and that's why you don't end up with like nuts and jumpers and all kinds of other chaotic mess. You don't need it. All right? You just simply don't need it. Now you're going to do that exact same procedure for both ends. Now take one of the ends and stick it into the box. Now remember, the front cover of that Ethernet junction box has the color code. So you can do either B or A. For me, I like using B. So that is the T568B color pattern. And as you can see here, there's a row that says A and B. So we're going to use B. On the left-hand side, you can see white orange is number 1, orange is number 2, white green number 3, green number 6, and then white brown 7, brown 8, blue 4, and white blue 5. And as you can see on the opposite side, they're in reverse. And that's exactly how you're going to do it for the other side too. As you put these wires into the unit, you're going to use your punch down tool and just simply punch them in. And that tool will automatically punch the wires in and snip them off at the same time. There's no real way to screw up. If you're using A, well, use A on both sides. If you use B on both sides. Now, some people are going to be like, well, how if I screw up and use A on one side and then on the other side I use B? Well, you just created a crossover cable. If you don't know, a crossover cable was used many, many moons ago to be able to attach different computers together, different hosts together. Today, we really don't use them too often. There are some applications for crossover cables, but we generally don't use them anymore. Anyways, don't create a crossover cable. Always use the exact same pattern. Some people are like, oh, is A right? Is B right? It doesn't matter. There is no right or wrong as long as both ends are the same. Right? So if you're using A, use A on both sides. If you're using the B pattern, use B on both sides. For me, I use B for everything. Anyways, at this point, you can screw the box together, flip it over, and you're going to use those zip ties to be able to secure the cables to the box itself so they can't pull out. And guess what? That is it. It is that simple. Stupid simple. So instead of with their method taking about an hour or 2 hours making one end and making another end and hoping that you made the ends properly, because it's not easy. Sometimes you'll get wires that will flip and switch and now all of a sudden they're wrong. The pattern is wrong internally to the actual end. And you're like, why doesn't this work? So you have to make one end, make the other end, put them together in that coupler. Hopefully the coupler is working. Hopefully the things are actually connecting properly and all the rest of the stuff. It is a mess. So to me, there's only one way to do this properly, and that is using a shielded Ethernet junction box, as well as your little push down tool, which doesn't cost a lot, and then finally one of those rotary cutters, and that's it. There's not a lot to it. You don't even need one of these expensive crimpers and then ends, right? You need to get ends and maybe some boots and then wire ends and a jumper cable and all kinds of nonsense. You don't need all that. You do not need that. That's all you need, once again, is a shielded Ethernet junction box itself, your little punch tool, and some way to cut the cable. If you want to use a pair of scissors instead of one of these, go for it. So literally for maybe $10 plus the cost of the junction box, $20, you end up with something that's not only easier to build, aesthetically pleasing, but it'll also just simply work over the long haul, over time. And I personally would also say or recommend that you put it inside of some type of sealed enclosure. All right. I'll put a couple of these down in the description below. These enclosures are perfect for it because you're going to want to seal it. There's many ways that I can show you to seal this. You don't even need a box to do it, but I'm not going to get into blowing stuff and heat guns and all kinds of other stuff that is just, people are not going to want to do that. You buy one of these little contraptions like you would house cables in, extension cables, like during Christmas, and you're golden. I found one that's like fluorescent green that I just love. It's just really cool. And you can see it and you can leave that wherever, outside, anywhere. If this cable where the cut is internal to your business, into your house, you obviously don't need that weatherproofing around it. But if the cable is broken exterior, outside where it's going to see the elements, then I would say grab one of those also. So anyways, guys, I hope you found this useful. I was reading the article and I'm like, it's just not that it's misinformation, because it's not. The information is valid. And if you went through their method of fixing the cable, it should work. It might work if you don't screw things up. Like I said, screw up building the cable and all kinds of other things. But if you use my method, it's just simply going to be done right, in my personal opinion, and you're going to have less of a problem in the long term. Junction boxes are simply cable to cable, cable to cable, and that is it. Very, very stupid simple. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have, please throw this video a thumbs up. That would be very, very helpful. Tell your friends, colleagues, relatives, someone on Facebook, on Reddit. Tell them that you found this video here. Send them over to the channel. Let's try to build this thing out. I want to see 100,000 of you. We're getting close to 60. I don't think 100,000 is too much to ask for. Anyways, that's it for me today. Head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up to support me and my family. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all.